Your main event, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, I told you guys it's going to be a better fight than the first one. I thought, people going, oh, Kamaru's just going to knock him out. Yeah, that's such a simp, soy boy way of breaking this down. Kamaru's been more active. He has knockout power. He's just going to knock him out. No, I don't think so. Because if you watch their first fight, Colby was fighting on, emotion and didn't fight smart, didn't use head movement, definitely didn't use wrestling. I thought he would incorporate more wrestling in this one, which he tried, and shows Kamaru how fucking good he is. He's gonna be pound for pound number one for quite some time. I think for Kamaru, he's in a weird spot because he's definitely singled himself out from the crowd at welterweight. Leon Edwards is fighting Jorge Masvidal next. If he were to get by that, it'd be a much overdue title shot. I don't think he beats Kamaru Usman, but who knows? Leon Edwards is a fucking nightmare, and if he wins this, that's 10 in a row, which is insane at welterweight. So he definitely deserves the title shot. We're just not. It's just not a hype fight, is it? But sometimes that's what happens. You look at Rose, and you look at Carlos Esparza. That's the fight you're gonna make for Usman. For him, it's. I think he ties the shadow of GSP if he wins this next one. I think he ties him. So there's that. So I think for Kamaru, how much longer is he going to be around? What else does he have left to do? Now, he could go up a weight class, but he's never, ever going to fight his brother from a different African mother in Izzy. So you're never going to see that. Sorry, GSP. Kamaru Usman is the greatest welterweight of all time. I agree. But I'm not chasing GSP. Yeah, but you kind of are because it's a big deal. I think Kamaru's the greatest welterweight of all time. It's a pretty easy conversation to have, too. You look at the level of difficulty that Kamaru Usman faces compared to GSP. It's not even close. And that's not a knock on GSP. That's the time he came up in. So I think for Kamaru, it's kind of like, what do you want to fight? If it's legacy, then you fight, if Leon were to win. But let's say if Leon loses, what do you do? If Leon were to lose, what do you do? Vicente Luque would be fun. That's a fun fight, even though they fought, Vicente on Food Truck said Kamaru would beat the shit out of him in training. All right. Wonderboy Thompson, he's always a tough task for anybody. But he has to win. He's coming off a loss. So there's not a lot. You got a guy, Zat down.
I know, just throw Zat at him.
He's only 10. That's insane. Again, I'd love to hear it. Who beats him? Besides Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. I don't know. I don't see many people beating him. Khamzat versus Kamaru, I think for the fans, if we were able to vote on it, that would get the vote.
Yep.
But you just can't. Khamzat hasn't fought tough enough competition. What we've seen inside that octagon, I can't say Kamaru just walks through Khamzat. I don't know. The Khamzat ceiling is so fucking high, it's not even funny. So, I wouldn't complain if he gave him a title shot. They're not going to. Dana was like, we need to stop that. He's not getting a title shot. I'm like, all right, you're no fun. So I think for Kamaru, it's, he's fighting for legacy. Sometimes that gets a little boring for guys. There's not a lot for him. If Leon Edwards loses, what do? Vicente Luque, I'd love to see Luque fight Nate Diaz instead. So we'll see, man. It's tough. I think what's interesting in Colby Covington, there's argument that he's behind GSP and Kamaru. He's the top 5 welterweight of all time. Definitely top 5 welterweight of all time. But he has the same problem that DC and Gustafsson had because of a guy named John Jones. So if John Jones was born any later, say 5 years later, Gustafsson goes down as one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, and he's the world champion. DC goes down as a world champion. So Gustafsson would have been world champion, and then DC would have been world champion. And then hopefully John comes on later and then runs with the throne, which he's doing. But you can't control that. But it's a shame because those guys, when you get to the UFC, if you ask anyone ranked in the top 15, you listen, ranked in the top fucking 100. Anybody who gets to the UFC, they're all failures unless you win gold. It's just what it is. No one gets to the UFC and goes, I just want to be just a guy. Nobody, ever. So, in my eyes, it's a failure if you don't become champion. My career was a failure. I didn't become champion. I think if you ask anyone in the NBA, NFL, NHL, if you didn't become world champion, that was your goal, you'd label yourself as a failure. I'm sure if you talk to Dan Marino, he's like, yeah, man, I didn't achieve what I meant to do, man. I wanted to be a world champion. It just never lined up for me. He had Joe Montana and fucking, unfortunately, Jim Kelly had the Dallas Cowboys. Imagine if the Bills didn't have to go against those historic Dallas Cowboys team. You're talking about one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Instead, they're known for losing. It just shit happens, man. So for Colby Covington, he's probably waking up this morning going, all right, I've gone 9 rounds, basically. He got stopped that first time by judges, but I've gone 9 rounds out of 10 with the greatest to ever do it, and I'm pretty fucking close, man. It's not like that guy's head over heels better than me. So depending where his demeanor's at, he can hold his head pretty high. It's just such a shame, man, because if there's no Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington is the face of the welterweight division. Gustafsson would have been the face of the light heavyweight division. Unfortunately, there's these outliers in John Jones, Kamaru Usman, who are fighting the same time in the prime when you're fighting, and it completely derails your fucking career, man. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're never going to beat them. Colby's never going to beat Kamaru. Gustafsson was never going to beat John Jones. DC was never going to beat John Jones. It's a shame.